I do give a shit about you. I just don't understand how you would ever do anything so fucking stupid to yourself.
Dave, man.
While I do not usually talk about movies on this channel, I recently watched A Real Pain and was fascinated as to how deep it was. I figured it was worth an in-depth analysis discussing the psychological, historical, and archetypal aspects and peeling this movie like an onion, which it is. Let me know if you like this type of content from me. Alright, let's peel this movie and go deeper and deeper layer by layer. Part 1. The Surface. A Real Pain is Jesse Eisenberg's second feature film as a writer-director. The plot revolves around two American Jewish cousins, David and Benji, who embark on a trip to Poland to visit the childhood home of their late Holocaust survivor grandmother and to reconnect with their heritage. David, an introverted, reserved, and pragmatic father and husband, contrasts sharply with Benji, a free-spirited, extroverted, and eccentric drifter. Their personalities clash as Benji criticizes David for losing his former passion and spontaneity, while David struggles with Benji's unfiltered outbursts and lack of direction in life.
I don't have time to hang out with you all night, every night.
I don't fucking want that.
In essence, it is a road trip movie which at the same time explores cross-generational trauma by mixing comedy with drama. A Real Pain fascinated me in how seemingly simple the movie seems at first glance and yet hides so many layers of complexity within. Naturally, it is a subject of debate as to how well Eisenberg actually explores these topics in the film, but
Yeah, dude, I totally forgot. You have super nice feet.
Do I?
nevertheless, a lot is packed in 90 minutes and we will slowly but surely try to unpack it. Alright, let's go deeper. Spoilers from this point ahead. Part 2. Poland. Quite a unique aspect of this film is its portrayal of Poland. Obviously, Poland acted merely as a setting to the film and was not a focal point. However, A Real Pain managed to show a rare, honest glimpse into the aesthetic of Poland and perhaps even Eastern Europe by extension. Perhaps this might not be obvious to an American viewer, but from a European perspective, it is especially refreshing to see a quite accurate representation. In the scattered B-roll shots of the cities, the audience could see a combination of brutalist Soviet architecture, the historic old town of Lublin, and the modern buildings of Warsaw. While there was only one encounter at the very end with actual Polish people,
Zabierzcie te kamienie.
something Benji does a meta comment on during the film,
It's real? Then how come I haven't met anyone that's actually Polish? I haven't had any interaction with somebody who's like from here.
I believe this film efficiently familiarizes the audience with Poland. It also, for the most part, does not use stereotypes or caricatures of the people living in this region for a cheap laugh. Part 3. The Holocaust. The film's serious portrayal of the Jewish heritage in Poland is obviously also worth noting. The static shots of buildings that are remnants from the Jewish ghetto was a great addition to the silent portrayal of Polish Jewish culture and history. However, the group's journey to the concentration camp just outside Lublin was done especially well. Again, simply showing the sights, gas chambers, ovens, and the mountains of shoes speaks much louder than any words could. The movie combines this production design with the in-movie universe by having the guide say just before entering that he will tone down with the facts and let the experience of being there speak for itself.
Before we head in, I might be a little bit sparser with my information overload today.
Just as Benji complained in one of the previous scenes. Clever. Regarding the stones, an important part towards the ending, in Jewish tradition, leaving a stone on a grave is a gesture of remembrance, symbolizing the enduring presence of memory. Unlike flowers which wither and decay, stones are lasting, eternal. In the film, stones appear repeatedly in scenes where David and Benji interact with their grandmother's memory, often serving as a tangible link between the past and the present. Also, the ending where the cousins are not allowed to leave stones on their grandmother's houses and David brings back the stone with him symbolizes how the Jews in Europe were rejected, lightly speaking, and had to find a new home in the US. Part 4. Extrovert-Introvert Dynamic. In my view, the strongest aspect of A Real Pain is the portrayal of the extrovert-introvert dynamic that many of us may recognize from our own families. Eisenberg avoids cliches, instead presenting both the strengths and flaws of these personality types in a simple yet effective way. The cousins' dynamic is shown early by Benji being assertive and getting to the shower first, whereas David does not seem bothered to adhere to others' needs.
All right, I'm gonna shower, okay?
Cool.
Yeah.
Mind if I shower first?
What, no, sure.
Benji, the extrovert type in this case, quite easily makes connections with strangers. He's not afraid to cross boundaries with people and even make a fool of himself because he does it honestly and authentically. The "oh snap" moment shows this best.
I'm a survivor of the genocide.
Oh, snap.
Benji also in just one night gets to know the personal story and background of the divorced woman, whereas David fails to even make minimal contact. Benji encourages everyone at the monument to relax and play, letting their authentic inner children out, while David stands back, uncomfortable, only taking pictures and not participating. On the other hand, later in the story, we start to see Benji being quite volatile and quickly disrupting the connections he has made, as in the train scene. We see his self-centeredness by constantly being late. However, even this aspect is flipped around when Benji does not wake David in the train. He also speaks out and criticizes the guide, which at first seems to incite conflict.
Hey, look, man, you're like completely knowledgeable about this shit.
However, later on, the guide thanks Benji for him being the only one who actually gave him genuine and valuable feedback.
You're the first person ever to give me actionable feedbacks.
Benji seemingly barely remembers what he said,
What did I say?
showing the spontaneity of his interactions. David's strengths, on the other hand, are much subtler. While in the story he's mostly passive and acts as a reactive character to Benji, his backstory and a few subtle moments show his inner strength. We know that David has a loving family back home and a stable, well-paying job. He's reserved and anxious to be outgoing around random people. As a weakness, he hides in the background, as in the aforementioned monument moment. Yet, as a strength, he focuses on keeping the peace and harmony. We see subtle hints of this. For example, he constantly apologizes for Benji.
Just, hey, maybe like take a seat. Text your wife.
I'm sorry.
A favorite moment of mine is after Benji criticizes the guide. David does a subtle nod to the guide, showing that he should not take it personally. With David, it is the little moments and glances, not grandiose declarations. We can sense that David values deep connections and meaningful relationships, which he strives to maintain. Therefore, making an impression on strangers that he is probably never going to see again is not his priority, to say the least. Only at the dinner table in the restaurant does David finally reveal to us the complexity he has hiding within.
Because I know that my pain is unexceptional, so I don't feel the need to, burden everybody with it.
The ending beautifully encapsulates the cousins' difference. The group warmly says goodbye to Benji and appreciates him while barely saying anything to David.
Sorry, I just wanted to get that off my chest. Thanks, David.
However, David comes home to a loving family while Benji stays at the airport anxiously waiting to chat up someone new. This is the essence of the extrovert-introvert dynamic. Both personalities have strengths, but neither is complete on its own. Part 5. Grief. In a real pain, grief operates on two simultaneous levels: the personal grief of the protagonists and the collective grief of a people. As we know, following the death of their grandmother, David and Benji embark on a Holocaust memorial tour to connect with their heritage. This dual journey, the internal and external, sets the stage for the film's interrogation of grief as not only a personal experience, but also a shared intergenerational inheritance. David and Benji's responses to their grandmother's death reveal the deeply individual nature of mourning. David's grief manifests in his measured, almost overly cautious behavior as he seeks meaning and control in a situation inherently chaotic and irreversible. Benji, on the other hand, exhibits a volatile, externalized mourning style, using humor and impulsiveness as shields to avoid confronting his vulnerability. Their contrasting approaches reflect the messy, nonlinear progression of grief, where avoidance, confrontation, and catharsis intersect in unpredictable ways. The Holocaust tour complicates their personal mourning, layering their grandmother's death with the trauma of history. By positioning their grief against the backdrop of one of humanity's greatest tragedies, the film invites questions about how individual suffering is informed by cultural and historical memory. In scenes where David and Benji grapple with the enormity of Holocaust memorials, their personal pain feels both magnified and dwarfed. This dynamic reinforces how grief is not experienced in a vacuum. It is contextual, deeply tied to one's identity and legacy. As the film progresses, David and Benji's journey becomes less about their grandmother and more about themselves. The Holocaust tour acts as a crucible, forcing them to confront not only their grief but also their strained relationship. Through shared moments of vulnerability, they begin to see each other and their pain with greater empathy. Part 6. Archetypes and the Shadow. Finally, at bottom, this movie is an archetypal portrayal of two siblings who are each other's shadow. Simply two characters who are opposites and therefore cannot stand each other, yet secretly wish to have the other's qualities. Think Cain and Abel, but cousins. One introverted, the other extroverted. One relaxed and easygoing, the other reserved and responsible. This dynamic entails conflict between them, yet deep inside, both characters wish, and at crucial moments express, the desire to have what the other one does. In Jungian psychology, the shadow refers to the unconscious part of the personality that contains traits, desires, and aspects of the self that an individual finds unacceptable, undesirable, or has repressed. It often represents the dark side of the psyche but isn't inherently negative. It includes both repressed weaknesses and untapped strengths. This is perfectly illustrated in the film. David has trouble making connections with other people, expressing himself, feeling free and playful, yet has a good job and a family. Benji struggles with being responsible, maintaining relationships, and having a plan for his future, yet is the one who connects with the tour group and leaves an impression on people. Combine these two characters and you have a well-integrated person, which is the goal in Jungian psychology. Of course, then you would not have a movie. David and Benji can be seen archetypically as two sides of the same person. At its core, this is precisely what makes the movie relatable. It is not only that we might know a David or a Benji in our lives, or we might be ourselves a David or a Benji. It is that there's a David and a Benji in all of us. Thanks for watching.